Okay, well, welcome to Gen Existential Crisis, episode one, debut episode. My name is Santanu Rahman, and I have with me a very dear friend, Ms. Tracy Frasier.
Hello there.
Thank you for being my very first interviewee.
My pleasure. We have lots to talk about.
Oh, I can't wait. This is gonna be fun. So the whole premise of everything that we're doing is basically just to amplify, shine a light on, try to understand what the heck Gen X is all about. I'm a Gen Xer. You're a Gen Xer. What is it? What does it even mean? Do people care? I think people are starting to care a little bit.
Now.
Sort of, a little. And because they care, I habitually don't care.
That's my gut reaction.
That's our gut reaction as Gen Xers is we kind of don't give a shit.
In fact, the more people care,
the less we care.
The less we make a concern. Well, the more concerted effort we make to care less.
Right. So let's dive into all this. But before we do, I did make a show intro that I'd like to play. And who knows if it'll stay. And I use a free video editing program. So it's got the the website of wherever I created it. So let's get this going. I need to share sound. And I need to click on QuickTime Player. And then I hit play. And even though we don't hear it, it's recording. I tried it out and it did, but that was
it's recording in another which that's fair game.
Totally. All right. Well, that was the intro. I hope that worked. And if not, oh well, that's okay. You know, we're Gen Xers. We just keep moving on. So I have always sort of been intrigued with the Gen X idea. I turned 50 this year, so I started thinking even more and more about, my generation, just because senior programming on the city level has opened up for me, and I get mail now from AARP. Yeah. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm here now.
Yeah.
So I just, I just wanted to learn more about what goes on in our sort of psyche and our mindset. And I tend to feel like I come at things from a slightly different angle than everybody else that I sort of grew up with and around. Because I tend to, I don't know, gravitate towards people who are, I don't know, just doing their own thing,
What do you mean?
Not falling into the typical trap of the American dream, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like go to school, get that education, get that job, get that mortgage, get those cars, get them kids. I've done some of that, but also trying to live your own truth a little bit, whatever that may be, and I think that's why it's kind of cool being in a city like Austin, where there are, at least there was once upon a time, a lot of creative folks here. So yeah, I mean, I am really interested in knowing about everybody's sort of mind space, where you're at, who are a little closer to my age, in my generation. I'm in general interested about everybody's kind of state of being, but particularly people who are around my age. I'm starting to find a really interesting way of looking at the world, because we had a very interesting upbringing, which leads me to my first kind of, I guess, question, if you will, is tell me about, your Gen X upbringing. Were you a typical Gen Xer upbringing, like latchkey kid and all that stuff?
Well, first I had to educate myself on what Gen X was, because I just never paid attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard it many times, but well, let's say I've heard it many times, but I've never heard it expounded much upon.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of glossed over it.
Sure.
So if we want to talk about like the definition of it in the latchkey, like latchkey actually resonates very well with me. With specifically, parents being raised by a single parent, or and not being or at least being of an age where I could be trusted alone by myself at
Mm-hmm.
home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally was in that. I let myself in the house, got my bag of Oreos, and turned on MTV as soon as it was on.
So
Like,
y'all had cable. That's awesome.
we did, but I didn't beforehand.
Okay.
Beforehand, like when I lived with my mom and my stepdad, and prior to that, my mom and dad, like no cable at all.
Mm.
But then after moving away, and that's the other thing, being a child of divorce, so that's a big
Mm-hmm.
deal in that generation.
Yep.
um then I moved in with my aunt and my uncle because my dad was off doing his thing, and so was my mom.
Mm-hmm.
So we had cable, and the heavens opened,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and there was Michael Jackson.
Right. So not only did you have cable, but it sounds like just through your familial circumstances that you had a lot of alone time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but the other thing is that I was an only child. So that's like the
Mm.
twist that
Mm.
I was
Mm-hmm.
going to bring up, because I guess I'm so in it because of being an only child that I don't
Mm-hmm.
even think about all the things that Gen Xers actually went through that was already part of my psyche anyway.
Interesting.
And
So talk about because music's a big part of my life. I know it's a big part of yours. Talk about kind of your music evolution as a Gen Xer.
well, for me, I mean, I brought props.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, I can tell you, if I can be permitted to
Yeah, go for it.
look at it here.
Tracy brought this box of like all kinds of paraphernalia. There's like, I'm seeing a lunchbox. That's awesome. I have a $6 million man lunchbox on my desk. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, like Gen X, like that's the coolest thing about us. Our generation is we can really define a lot of our stuff with like actual physical things.
I have to have physical things.
That's awesome.
But I have to also negotiate that with my love of minimalism.
Mm.
But okay, so the first is loved Mary Poppins.
Oh, nice.
Okay, that's growing. This is the and then, but while Mary Poppins was playing, then I needed my dad to turn off Ray Price. So that's because he was really into that, and he was learning. Here's my original album.
That's really funny. I have a friend named Ray Price.
You do?
Yeah, and I'm going to do a podcast with him very soon.
Hell yeah.
But the Ray Price I know is an African American gentleman.
Wow. Well, okay, so there's that.
Mhm.
And so I had a very big kind of, my dad was really into country and learning the pedal steel guitar.
Oh, wow.
Which immediately I rebelled against. And came back to later.
Right.
Right. And then it goes to,
oh my gosh, I'm looking at that from the back here. You got some classics in there.
my first album I ever bought with my own money.
Oh yeah.
With
Pyromania. Yes. Oh man.
Def Leppard.
That's great.
And then of course, now
Duran, they were my band in 6th grade.
This whole like Nagel look. Like and John Taylor is the best bassist ever. But
they got inducted, I think, into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame recently or something like that.
I think it was this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was real excited about that. Then we've got the
Oh man,
whole John Hughes line.
can I see that 16 candles one?
It's
I'm really curious what they have on the back.
for promotion
Okay,
only.
yeah. No, this movie was the first movie I saw with friends in a theater.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh my
this is the
God.
first movie I saw with friends in a theater by myself.
That is the sweetest thing.
And
Oh,
then watching it again, oh, it did not age very well.
it did not age well. In fact, that's part of this, right?
Yes.
Like, I think about this and I'm like, man, that scene right there is such a bad scene looking back. But at the time, I was like,
Oh yeah.
oh, that is so funny.
Yep.
That's so funny.
Yep.
Well, I could go on, but the thing that really we can also talk about is this was a big album for
Oh
me.
yeah.
I did nothing but Jane Fonda.
That's hilarious. That's
And you
awesome.
open it up and you've got,
Oh wow, you got a little tutorial there.
oh yeah, donkey kicks,
That's
butt
great.
lifts and everything.
That's awesome.
Can You Feel It by the Jacksons, REO Speedwagon,
Oh wow,
Stomp. I mean, the music was amazing.
man,
I can recite all of side 3.
that's
Can you
hilarious.
feel it? Oh, so good. And then I just think that
You know, REO Speedwagon is from my hometown.
Hmm.
They're from Champaign, Illinois.
Do you ever run into them?
No, but a street was named after them.
Of course. Well, and I'll just say that the thing with, I think, Gen Xers were that we had an affinity for the 50s and the
Oh yeah,
60s. And then when we get to the 70s and like we could harken back to that. That's why it kind of resonated.
Totally. I got into city 60s rock as in high school.
Yeah.
You know, I totally got into Beatles and the Who and Led Zeppelin and just all the whole British invasion bands.
This I could not get enough of Jim
yeah.
Morrison
Yeah.
The Doors.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, I just think, and then I made a twist.
I see that.
To
Easy E,
who
wow.
has bitches galore.
Yeah,
so,
right.
I mean, I just, I don't know what it was. He was funny.
He was funny, and in the like early mid 90s when Dre Day came out, and then him and Dr. Dre had a back and forth thing going on, but then because they were both part of NWA, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually, they reconciled. But it was funny. They totally made diss albums towards each other.
Yeah, there was drama, but kind of funny.
Yeah, it was
real
hilarious,
misogynistic.
actually. Extraordinarily misogynistic. Yeah, it's
such
wild.
a shame, but like I know
the music was so good.
The music was so good. I couldn't help it. Like I remember having a job like about 10 years ago and like actually sitting down at a desk and my supervisor came up behind me because you could listen to stuff while you're working and he's like, Easy E, really? And I was like, don't judge me. I haven't been able to sit here and listen to an album for like a long time. And then, I don't know. I get into Joy Division, Pixies,
nice.
like
awesome.
that whole thing. So that's kind of like,
that's great.
I don't know.
It's your taste, I mean, I think a lot of Gen Xers could say this, but I particularly in this collection of records that you just showed me, very, very diverse, very all over the place. Which, when you're relegated to only what the radio plays and to what the record stores sell, right? Your options and what MTV plays, your options are way more limited than they would be today. But then it's almost like so big right now where it's like, let me just find a lane,
Yeah.
And then you just kind of stay in your lane versus like trying to explore all kinds of different, genres and such.
Yeah. I mean, I have very good friends that really took it down a different level that I admire because they'll talk about, I don't know, Dead Kennedys, and then they'll go like to the Judys from Houston, like all these different punk or new wave acts that I just always I didn't have access to. It was like and they were so ferocious about finding
Yeah.
that next level
Yeah. Yeah.
that I was always in awe.
Do you find yourself listening to just old music that you hadn't listened to before, or do you seek out new music?
I will seek out old music that I didn't spend time on.
That's what I find myself doing too.
Yeah.
Like I'm having a hard time with new music
Yeah.
because I mean it's not that there aren't, and I don't want to blame it on a generation or say that there's no good music out there. That's not true. There's really good musicians out there, really good music out, but getting it curated and finding the avenue to discover it is just, I don't have the time or patience for it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So whenever I'm not feeling, um, when I'm feeling a little bit, I don't want to say lazy in a bad sense. When I can just go and turn on, I don't know, Spotify and listen to whatever like the curated music they have.
Yeah.
That's easy for me, and then I'll start to listen and see what I like. That's new.
So, and the algorithms don't really help, because what the algorithms do is they pick up on what I'm listening to, and they're like, oh, this is what you like, then let me play you more of similar things that sound very similar to what you're already listening to, that will probably make sense for you to listen to. It's like, I'd rather you just play something that doesn't make any sense to me than like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
Kind of like the radio, where college radio and indie radio, community radio was great, is there was just music from all, was like, what is this I'm listening to? Like,
Yeah.
it's great because our station here, KUT station, KUTX, yes.
Mm.
98.9, I think it is. Like sometimes I'll be listening to it and I'll hear something that just has a great sound, but there's no like announcement of what I just heard. So I was like, I'll scramble, because I usually listen to it when I'm in the car. I'll scramble home, or go on my phone or on the computer and go on to their website to see if I can find the playlist. And it's like, oh, it's not documented. Darn. I'll never know what I just listened to, but that was awesome.
So here's where like the tech savvy of the Gen Xers, where I can kind of be okay with, where I can identify with this.
Awesome.
Is I will Shazam, and I will Shazam anything that makes me go, oh, what?
There
or
you go.
either it's new, or it's something that I know I want to go back and listen to later that was old. So that catalog that's in there is kind of I don't know, it's pure.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I've gone and like, I don't know where I am. I'll be
Yeah.
somewhere out and I'll just Shazam something because they're doing something great.
Did Google buy Shazam? Is it a Google thing now?
No, I don't know.
Because
I'm not that tech savvy.
I wonder, because I remember doing this with Google and saying, and I think I said, I hope my phone doesn't activate, but I said, okay, Google, what is this song? And Google's, I'm not talking to you. So, all right. Anyway, and it does that too. So I'm wondering if they either like took the code from that, or they bought them out. I don't know how it works anyway.
I don't know, but whoever thought of that show Shazam with Jamie Foxx, come on now. That's right up my alley. With his daughter, who knows like a millisecond of what a song is.
That's impressive.
Which I love. So, and anyway, like, don't get me started about In Living Color. Come on now.
Oh yeah, In Living Color was great. That was a great show. That was, I'm just gonna make a bold statement, but that was probably a lot of people's first kind of real sense into Black culture, by means of a sketch comedy show that was created, produced, acted, and completely like their product, not someone saying like a real mainstream media companies saying like, we need a sitcom that features African Americans, nothing like that. It's like In Living Color was literally its own entity,
Yeah.
and so they spoke a lot of their truths in a very hilarious way up there, and made amazing careers for people like Jamie Foxx and Jim Carrey.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, who's not African American, but oh my gosh, what a wild person.
Well, I mean, if I it's important that you said like that it was of their own, creation. And I don't know how much involved he was, but the Flip Wilson show, like I remember watching, and the thing is, I don't remember watching that. I remember watching uh CBS Enterprises. You can buy all the episodes of Flip Wilson, and they would do like all the highlights of Flip Wilson. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's how I would understand like the comedy back then of the 60s.
Right.
But he was groundbreaking. So I don't know. I think I know you're right about In Living Color, and then it made me think, oh, what was before then? Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess just Flip Wilson.
Yeah, there was a few shows here and there, but yeah, that's what one of the things that I think is really interesting about our generation is that we were exposed to, let's just say, a little bit more diversity than the generations before us. But that being said, it's interesting that, I don't know, when it comes to that whole, I guess what you could call social justice piece of things, like I feel like we're kind of split as a generation in terms of how we approach that, how we view that, how we think about it. Because I know it's interesting. Just I don't really use Facebook anymore. Maybe I'll get back on and use it. I mean, I use it more for a news aggregator than really posting stuff. But I tell you, my when I was on it, it was very interesting. I saw very clear, like a lot of my hometown friends and high school friends were very right wing leaning. But then everyone after my high school experience, from college to the work and everything that I've done after that, were more left leaning. So I saw, and I consistently saw this trend with people, like people who are my age. It's like, yeah, a lot of my high school folks, I had to block them because they post a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So I just think it's interesting, how we're split on this. And this is something I wanted to ask you. What do you think were some of our challenges as Gen Xers as we come into this new era of life, world, technology, society? Like, what are things that are probably hard for us to swallow or adapt to, you think?
I think that it's easy for us to get distracted.
That's true.
I think it's easy for us to, if it doesn't apply to us in a first or second degree, we don't pay attention to it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And then we don't, some of us maybe just don't speak up.
Right. That's I think a big part of it. I think there's a point where we were sort of anti-establishment in our spirit, but then when we got older and we needed jobs and we needed to,
learn how to communicate a little bit in the way that they would understand. So
we sort of fell into the status quo.
Yeah.
And just kind of, well, this is what's set up. I guess this is what we got to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of the things are a detriment. And then there's other things though that we became very adaptable.
Yeah, that's I think one of our positive traits, especially when COVID hit. I found Gen Xers being able to handle it.
I'll say straight up, I was like, oh, I've been looking for a 2 week silent retreat, and here it is. Oh my God. Wait, 2 weeks? Okay. A month? Wow. Okay. Even better. A year. Oh, okay. All right. All right. But it took me like, it's only until now that I'm kind of like, yeah, maybe that wasn't all so like good for me, but
Right.
I I was not um I was okay,
Yeah, so was I.
you
And
know.
and I know not every Gen Xer is like us, but
Yeah.
because I know that it was really, really difficult for those who are a little bit more extroverted in their personality.
Mhm.
We are social animals. We, by default, by through our biology, need people, but but it's all on a spectrum. Some of us are totally fine being locked in our basement or garage creating artwork all the time.
Yeah.
Some of us are totally fine with that, but others really need to like be around other people and throw get-togethers and parties and events and all that sort of stuff. So I know it was hard for some folks. For me, I was just always just trying to find another way to become creative, and
Mhm.
but I did want to connect with people. That's one thing that I guess I learned is that, even though I know I'm introverted by nature, um, I do like being around people. Not all the time, but
Yeah.
I do recognize that.
Yeah. I'm an extrovert on my own terms.
Right. That's a good way to say it. I like
Yeah.
that. I like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, cuz I'd prefer to actually kind of crawl down a rabbit hole and into my own kind of interests and things like that. And then, but then I'll pop up like Meerkat or
Mm-hmm.
and just
Mm-hmm.
go, oh, I'm supposed to I'm supposed to do something here.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So,
Just tell me a little bit about, your connection to film as a Gen X, growing up as a Gen Xer, and then I know you got into film and filming and such. Tell me about that landscape from the lens of a Gen Xer.
well, if since I was, kind of alone quite a bit, um, or I felt isolated, then the messages in films really tended to resonate with me. I mean, that's true, I think, for a lot of people, but I think it was a little bit more
But
geared towards our
yeah,
age
and
group.
you could really feel a strong connection. It really
Oh
pulled you in.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the idea of expressing your emotions through film, or at least, yeah, that that medium
Yeah.
spoke to me more than music is a close,
Oh, sure.
but books I didn't really get as immersed in. I think it
Mm.
was more of a visual arts that,
Film was a big deal for our
yeah.
generation, because we had camcorders,
Mhm.
right? And so then, invariably, we'd make home videos. We'd maybe even try to make our own films,
Yeah.
because like you're saying, a lot of the themes and ways things were presented in films really spoke to us.
Mhm.
And so, personally speaking, what are some of the films that are like your all time, like, okay, this film, if there were a few to define my childhood or my upbringing or who I am today, this is one of them.
Oh, well, God, I would say E.T.
Ah, okay, okay.
um, I would say, well, one of the there's I have a story that when I started living with my aunt and uncle, uh, it was probably about 5 years after its release that they decided to put it on regular TV, maybe CBS. I don't know what network.
Mm.
The Exorcist.
Oh man.
That and it was made for TV. I
Oh man.
still have not seen the actual version
Oh my gosh.
because it flipped me out so much. However, if you think about, so if I think about films that really, stuck with me,
For sure.
that's one of them. Spoofs. That's another one. Saturday the 14th.
Mm. Mm.
Um, uh, what's the one? Was it the fog? It was all the different there was, God, I can't remember. See, that's not gonna sound
Sounds
good,
like
but
you went down the thriller alley, huh?
yeah, but a lot of comedy too.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
had to a lot of John Candy, a lot of
Mm.
Saturday Night Live,
Mhm.
Splash, like all the old, or they're not old. They're
Yeah.
not old.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Saturday Night Live was huge. And now that I'm talking about TV more so, but like when those actor sketch comedy artists, they moved into film, I was all in. Like Chevy
Nice. Yeah.
Chase,
Yeah.
Gene Wilder. He wasn't on Saturday Night Live, but Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor
Oh
together,
man. Yeah. Hear no evil,
I
see no evil.
cannot get enough of them.
They made a great duo.
They did.
Let's transition from 80s into 90s, because I feel like 90s was a whole, musically and with film, another genre that just kind of, I don't know, just a whole different era of film. 90s.
I'm afraid I'm going to fall a little flat there because I was just starting college, but I don't know. I did not get into the grunge as much.
Mm.
Some of it was really good, but
Mhm.
I guess I was just kind of rebelling against everything. So
You
I
ever
don't
got into the Pulp Fiction thing, the Quentin Tarantino thing?
gotta say, I mean, I love Uma Thurman and I love John Travolta. I love even the way that they interacted with each other.
Mm.
With Quentin, I'll have to just say he is a different artist in the
For sure.
sense, the gratuitous violence I couldn't handle.
Right. Right.
Um, but he's a good storyteller. He's
Yeah,
amazing.
I think the way he pays homage to all kinds of genres and of film, and then also the somewhat seemingly non sequitur nature of things like Pulp Fiction, kind of, it seemed like it opened the doors to a lot of filmmakers saying, "Oh, you can do it like this. It doesn't have to be so linear, and you can." So
I
it's,
like that word non sequitur.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I think perhaps a huge uh uh kind of uprising of underground films kind of came in the 90s. Like a
Mhm.
lot more people were doing like their own filmmaking and things like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, for a lot of folks, like um movies of that nature, as well as, I mean, I think we started seeing more I guess Afrocentric cinema, like
Mm.
your Spike Lee's and Boys in the Hood and Menace
Mhm.
to Society and all that whole subgenre of um, films that also had a hip hop element,
Mhm.
like that also became a sort of a big deal there. I can't remember if Blade was in the 90s or not, with Wesley Snipes.
Oh yeah. I think God, if it wasn't in early
2000.
2000s.
I
Yeah.
I love Wesley Snipes. I think he's a
Oh yeah.
amazing actor. Have you seen this is not our generation's, maybe late 70s, Dolomite? So he's done this thing, Dolomite Is My Name, on
Yeah.
Netflix with Eddie
Yeah.
Murphy.
I haven't seen it, but I want
Oh,
to.
so good. I've seen it like 3 times now. It's
Really?
so good. Yeah.
Okay.
Because Eddie Murphy was a comedian I followed as a kid.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
yeah,
I
like,
can recite raw and some in little bits every now and again. Yeah, it'll just pop out.
it was so funny. I remember very distinctly when he was on Saturday Night Live and waiting to watch Saturday Night Live because Eddie Murphy was going to do Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood,
Oh yeah.
you know. But yeah, no, that's it's really interesting just seeing the change in decades and how music and film in particular have changed. So Gen X wise, how are you feeling about society today? Is it doable? Is it lame as it always is? Is it going way backwards? And oh my gosh, someone's got to save it. Like, how do you feel about today's times as an Xer now that we're seen as old people?
Well, I'll say when I've heard people say, hopefully, you know, the kids are saving grace, and I was like, yeah, 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 yeah. No, they really are.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I really get it. And I don't have kids. I think that's another thing too. That I don't know necessarily is, well, maybe it is part of Gen X in the sense of maybe our generation didn't necessarily feel as much pressure to have kids.
Correct. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know tons of Gen Xers who are don't have kids at all.
Yeah. And I don't, it wasn't like a specific decision. Like for me, it personally never came to, no, I just
Hmm.
decided we're not doing it. It was, when is the time right?
Hmm.
And then you'd hear, well, the time is never right.
Correct.
And then you'd hear, well, or then and then I think to myself, well, if the time is never right, well, that stinks. So,
Yeah, yeah, right.
well, but then I got to a point where I was like, well, I could make it work. But the thing is that, um, it just never was one of those things that I've heard other people get drawn to, I
Yeah,
guess you'd
yeah.
say. But
Well, and that's becoming more commonplace now
yeah.
because I mean, we've got things as all the way down to Japan having just an overall population decrease
Hmm.
because more and more people are feeling like, no, I don't really feel the need to bring a child into this world, especially the way the things are right now. No,
Yeah.
gonna say a hard no on that. So it's happening in real time right now.
Yeah, I do. I will say that I did wonder, is it more selfishly motivated? I mean, yeah, it is on one level. And then on another, like when you just said, why would I bring a child in the world now? Well, I also would feel guilty about if I just had a child because it was supposed to be the thing to do
Right, right,
too.
right,
So I
right.
don't know. I think, but I do appreciate that our generation had a little bit of, I don't know. It seems to me, in my experience, I had less pressure
Yeah, yeah,
to do that.
for sure, for sure.
But they are they are gonna save us. Let's just be real.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We, for the most part, we produce Gen Z,
Yeah.
and Gen Z definitely, they have their own challenges for sure,
Yeah.
but hopefully they're on the right path.
But I will say, they give me, so to connect it, they
Yes.
give me hope to learn how to be more vocal,
Yeah.
to do the things that I never really did
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
growing up. So yes, they are gonna save us, but they inspire me to do more,
Yeah.
and do my part, right? So I think that, yeah, I mean, as I don't know if I answered the original
No, it doesn't
question,
matter.
but
That's totally okay. Uh, one last thing I wanna talk about, and that is Gen X and health and how we grapple with it, because I submit that our generation was laser sharp focused target by the fast food industries and the corporate junk food industry. We were like right in their crosshairs.
Cash cows.
Yep.
Yeah.
So a lot of Gen Xers, I know, some of them haven't even made it this far, unfortunately. Rest in peace to all of them, you know? And some are having really major health problems, you know? And it's, some of it might be hereditary, but a lot of it is, you know, just the culture that we grew up around. What's your thoughts on all that stuff?
Well, I know for me, that was a big pressure growing up.
Yeah.
I'll say right now, I'm so inspired by, you know, Lizzo and all the different people that of different body shapes out there. And there's another part of my Gen X that speaks that goes, oh, that's such a fad. And then I'm like, no, no, no. I'm not going to think that way. I think this is amazing that different body types are being accepted, like, and normalized.
Right.
Which is what I did not have. Like,
Yeah.
I remember the day that I learned Christy Brinkley was over 6 feet tall. And I thought, oh, well, I'm never going to be that tall.
Right.
It was so liberating
Right.
because I thought I had a shot
Right.
at looking like Christy Brinkley.
Sure.
In like her form. No, it weighed heavily on my psyche, I know. And also wanting to be accepted and
Right.
part of the cool crowd and all of that.
Right.
But we definitely needed, we had, yes, you're right. All the marketing from all the fast food corporations, they knew that they had money in us.
Right.
So now we're having to just undo all of that.
Right.
And you know, the boomers in the 60s might have had some of the things, right? Where they're, you know, the hippies, everything's natural.
Right.
We're going back to that. So I don't know. I think it just, I don't know.
I think the undoing part is you hit it right on the head, is having to undo a lot of these things that have been so deeply programmed into us, like through television, radio, print, it, like wherever you go. I mean, still to this day, right? You drive around, what do you see most of in terms of food? Fast food, right? So it is burned so deeply into us. And you know, to the act of resistance to that, you know, it's a challenge. It's a huge challenge.
Oh yeah.
And some days you're just like, I don't know if I have the strength to fight today.
Yeah.
So I think I'll have breakfast at McDonald's, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah. I mean, the thing is now there's so much with regard to, there's this fitness app and this diet plan and that kind of thing. That's where I go, get me back in my little rabbit hole and let me just kind of start shaking things out for myself.
Well, that's cool. You mentioned that you use apps, so you can kind of use that. That might be a great Gen X thing, is that we are not afraid of technology. We can maybe find our solution, you know, for health issues through a tech medium.
Oh yeah, I mean, my parents or people older than me get livid when they cannot understand why something on the computer is doing what it's doing. And then they ask me and I'm like, I don't know. I don't even use what you're using, or if I do, okay, let me try to walk it through. And now I'm tech support and I'm like, you don't want me, you want it. Oh boy, but I guess I'm The closest thing.
I saw a post on some, I can't remember where I saw it, but a person said, I just started this new job at this office, and I'm the youngest person there. So in addition to everything else, I'm also tech support.
Hold on. That is rare to hear, because I just heard a friend of mine say she is the oldest. All the people that are on her team are way younger than she is. And I'm like,
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's more in like production, like TV production or something like this, like, or film. Like, there's a lot of young people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in a position right now, a job position right now, where uh, I've got there's both,
Mhm.
and it's actually very exciting because, you know, half of the folks are super young and I'm learning from them, but then the other half are my age, and I can identify with them. It's really,
I think you've encapsulated the Gen X experience really well there, just by what you just said, because it's like we're not afraid of innovation. We're not afraid of new things. We're not afraid to be creative with things, find creative solutions. So we have advice to give from our years of living, our experience, but we're also open to seeing like, oh, this is a new thing. All right, show me how it works. Okay, I think I got it. So I think that's kind of a positive attribute of our generation.
Yeah.
Well, Tracy, let's do more of this in the future. This was a great chat, and I'm going to continue to keep pondering our generation.
Fantastic.
Thank
I
you
look
very
forward.
much.